Hey, it's Drybear. The latest Resonator to join Wuthering Waves, Yinlin, has hit the live server, so today we're gonna go through all of her combos, her perfect builds, her weapons, and team comps, so you know exactly how to implement her. Now, if you haven't picked her up yet, she's part of the new limited banner that just got launched, the Convene for Wuthering Waves, so you'll have to get lucky on that. It does seem like the 50-50 bad luck protection, the pity from the previous banner on GN, will overflow onto the Yinlin banner, so you can pick her up if you haven't picked up GN since then. But once you have her unlocked, there's also another banner for her weapon, and it's a perfect match for what she does. And just like I did with my Denjin guide, I've made a full one sheet for Yinlin, going over all of her best weapons, her echo stats, her primary echoes, and her primary team comps. We're gonna go through in detail in all of the things you see on screen, but for the people that are impatient and just want a single sheet that has all the information you're looking for, you'll find that link down below and in the description as well. Yinlin's best role is actually in the synergy or sub DPS role, primarily because she has so many benefits that she provides to other characters beside herself, especially when she has her String Master legendary weapon. Once she has that unlocked, she provides a coordinated attack, so she's dealing damage when she's not even on the field, and she also provides an outro synergy of increasing electro damage and the Resonance Liberation, which is your ultimate ability damage increase, which is a perfect match for Calcharo, who currently is a main DPS, who also does electro damage, and the vast majority of his damage output, over 50%, comes from when he uses his ultimate, his Resonance Liberation. So she is a perfect match for Calcharo, but that doesn't mean you have to run Calcharo with her. She is a rectifier weapon user, but her plunge attack counts as a melee, so she's able to parry with this if you'd like. And one of the defining features for Yinlin, just like Calcharo, is she actually has a whopping 4 animation cancelable portions in her full rotation, which means that if you practice her a lot, you can actually get to the point where you can swap in and out from her while she's still on the field the entire time, 4 times total, including the echo. Her basic combo looks like this. It's a 4-hit string, up swipe, down swipe into a spin, and then she'll jump forward and do a slam. On that 4th attack, when you see her body flip over, you can actually, as long as you're in combat, it won't do it when you're out of combat. Well, as long as you're in combat, when she does the flip forward, you can swap to another character and then swap back, which will leave her on the field and get you back into her control before she actually disappears. So if you're facing enemies and you're in combat, you can do 1, 2, and then 3, swap out, and you'll see that the doll stayed and still did damage. And that's one of her 4 swaps that you can actually do. So into the 4th, as soon as you see her flip forward, you can flip over and flip back. You'll still be in control of her and you won't lose any DPS there, and you'll still get the application from the 4th hit. The other swap comes in the form of her Resonance ability, her E skill, which has a 2-part hit. You're gonna do 1 hit, and then you can do a 2nd hit and slam, and that'll explode and apply some marks, which we'll go over in a second. And just like the basic attack 4, the 2nd hit of the Resonance ability can be swap canceled as well, which we'll show here. So you can go here, and again, when she flips forward, you'll see she's still on the field, and you can swap back to her before that ends, which means you still stay on top of her. Luckily, she has more swaps than Calcharo, but they're far easier to complete. Next is pretty straightforward. If you're running her best echo, Tempest, you can actually swap right after he spawns, and you can see that the first hit of Tempest still went out. You can either do hit and then swap when the 2nd attack starts, and the last swap for Yinlin is going to come with her hold attack. So if you have full 14 meter and you hold this, when it lands, you can swap out and it'll still do the explosion on targets as long as you're still in combat when it goes out. Additionally, her Resonance Liberation, her ultimate ability, is just straight up DPS. You can pop it, she will jump in, do her animation, and then you'll see this big area of pulsing electro damage. This one cannot be properly swap canceled, but the 4 that we already talked about absolutely can, which gives you more options. Now that's just the basic kit. There's a lot of mark effects that you want to be aware of when you're playing Yinlin. She has a Judgment Mark and a Sinner's Mark. So when you basic attack targets, you'll see this little doll appear that has this line going towards them. And it's important to know which targets have the Sinner's Mark on, and you optimally want to have Sinner's Mark on all of the targets you're DPSing. Alternatively, aside from your basic attack, your intro skill will also apply all targets hit with the Sinner's Mark, and your ultimate, your Resonance Liberation, will do so as well. The Judgment Mark or the Punishment Mark is the evolved version of this Sinner's Mark, and only comes when you have a full 14 meter and you do your long press, your long hold heavy attack. So once you have targets marked with Sinner's Mark, as soon as you do your long press hold, which looks like this, all of those targets will get the elevated version, which is the punishment mark, which will just trigger extra electro damage. Every 1 second is the maximum on that timer, but you'll be able to do extra damage that way. So managing your marked targets, elevating that mark, and managing your meters is all part of playing Yinlin. And this punishment mark is actually her coordinated attack, which means that it will stay on the field once you activate it. So you want to mark all targets with your Sinner's Mark, again, is the doll with the purple line. Once that is active and you fill up the meter, then you just need to use her long press heavy attack. And you see how she has the Sinner's Mark or upgraded into the full mark. When you swap to someone else, it's still going to linger around and still do the pulsing damage from that judgment mark that's on top of them, which is a coordinated skill. Only a couple characters in the game have one, like Mortifi or Verena, and you want to maintain this as high uptime as you possibly can. You can very easily swap to her over and over and keep this up by just filling the meter and then using up that attack. Now, I've included on the one sheet a full proper rotation for Yinlin with the 4 cancels. Now, keep in mind, you don't have to cancel if you don't want to. You're just missing out on a lot of damage optimization because you could bring in another character, use an ability like a resonance, and then swap back without any loss. So this would be the common combo for Yinlin. And keep in mind that the optimal combo will change whether you're playing her as a main DPS or as a sub DPS / synergy / part of a quick swap party. So this is the one you'll probably run her as most people will run her as a synergy. You want to switch to her. Then when you first swap to her, you want to do her echo, which is going to be 1, 2, and you can swap off on the echo. Then when you're back on her, you want to start her resonance, which is going to be 1 hit. And if you're playing her as synergy, you automatically do the 2nd hit and you can quick swap off the resonance 2nd hit. Then once the resonance is done, as you're transforming out of the 2nd resonance hit, you will be on the 2nd hit of her basic attack chain, which means you will be coming out like this, 2, and then when she's flipping over, you can swap on her and swip back. That gives you the extra bonus there. And then right when that 4th hit hits on the basic attack, you'll be able to pop her ult. Right when the ult ends, you want to pop her heavy attack and then swap to another character for the outro. And again, if you're in combat, when you do that, she'll stay on the field, finish her heavy attack, and then you'll be able to get the new character in with the 4 swaps. However, keep in mind that when you use your resonance ability, while you're in this extra mode, every time you attack, you're going to get extra damage out of this. This is the resonance ability. You have 4 hits total that will do bonus damage in this. So if you're playing her as a main DPS, which is the build I'm using for her right now, you want to use the first hit of the resonance and then get 4 hits out and then finish the resonance for the extra damage there, because you're missing out on basic attack and resonance damage bonus that you'll be playing her as a main DPS. If you're playing as her as a synergy though, you gotta limit her on-field time, so you're just gonna do 1 resonance straight into the follow-up resonance, which will immediately be swappable as you go through. So let's do that full without stopping so you can see exactly how it looks. You go 1, 2 into Tempest, swap off, swap back, resonance into resonance, swap back. Then you finish into the 3rd, 4th. After the 4th, you swap back, ult. As soon as you return back to her, and then you want to long press for the heavy and then swap in order to end it for her optimal synergy. And then for the optimal DPS, you want to make sure you include those extra 4 basic attacks after resonance before finishing to get that extra bonus damage in there. And again, if any of that was lost on you, I have it on my one sheet down at the very bottom. I have a link to this as well. You can have it up on another monitor or on your phone, but that combo I just mentioned is down at the bottom, and this is going to be for her synergy. Again, for the resonance, you just include the extra 4 in between resonance 1 and 2. For best weapons, picking up her weapon, the String Master, is the best option you can use for her. It gives her insane amounts of crit rate. The flat crit rate on String Master is probably the best of any weapon in the entire game. Optionally, you can also use the Cosmic Ripples if you did end up getting the basic banner 5-star weapon for the Rectifier. Then you can also pick up Augment, which you get 1 for part of the Battle Pass, the podcast that's in the game. Jinzhou Keeper is a nice alternate, and if you have nothing else, you can use Rectifier of Night, which still has a good damage scaling on it for the attack that it has. For best echoes, I recommend Tempest Mephis in almost all situations, even if you're playing her as DPS. You have an alternate option for Thundering Mephis. The problem is Tempest Mephis is a 2-hit combo to get optimal damage out of him. Thundering Mephis is much longer. It's like 4 or 5. So you have to be on the field for a long time to get the full combo out of Thundering Mephis, which means you're losing a lot of uptime on other characters if you're playing a comp that relies on that. But you can use Thundering if you don't care about optimal DPS, that sort of thing. And as it stands right now, Mecha Electric Abomination basically works on any character in the game because the damage is insane, and it is electro damage as well. For the Sonata effect, the 5-set bonus, I would recommend Void Thunder. You can also do Lingering Tunes if you're going to use her as main DPS, but for synergy, I would use Void Thunder just because you get the extra bonus on that. For stats on those echoes, I'll recommend a 4-3-3-1-1 setup because she scales really well with electro percent damage. So crit rate is great on the main. If you have over 65-70% crit rate, you could even run a crit damage percent on the Tempest Mephis. And then for your 2-3 costs, I recommend electro percent damage, and for the 2-1 costs, get attack percent as well. And for the team comps, there's 3 different approaches to this. The one that I think most people are going to use is the straightforward support synergy main DPS comp, and that's going to be with Calcharo. So use Verena. She has a global buff for the entire team, great heals, and an easy way to trigger the 5-piece bonus for the rejuvenating glow set. She'll transfer into Yinlin. Yinlin will set up all of her damage bonus, do great for synergy DPS, and then use her outro, which does electro damage, and of course the ultimate, the resonance liberation damage for Calcharo, and then you'll just rotate through. It's a very standard combo. But if you want to do a swap combo, which is a quick swap, the difference there, if you don't know, in the normal traditional sense, like I said, you'll start with your support, go to your synergy, get your buff up, and then go to your main DPS and finish their full rotation. However, for a quick swap comp, you're constantly switching between them and keeping all of their resonance abilities on cooldown to the best of your ability, and you're just switching back and forth. And remember, their Concerto energy gets saved between swaps, so you can just swap between them, do different attacks, do echoes, and all that sort of thing. And if you're swapping often enough, you can actually get full value of more than 1 DPS, which means that if you're going to be doing it that way, you can include 2 main DPSs in this comp. I recommend Encore because Encore's mostly ultimate damage focus, which means that the synergy from Yinlin is still going to be valuable. And because she's ultimate focused, you can then keep Encore off the field and focus on Yinlin when her ultimate is not ready and switch back and forth. And for quick swap comps, I love running Genshin. Good anti-interruption for all the characters. She has global healing, lots of shielding, and she has an ultimate buff as well. So you can basically go Yinlin into Encore, into Genshin, into Encore, into Yinlin with a quick swap comp and get tons of buffs for Encore's ult and great synergy for all of them as well. And the last option, if you are wanting to run her as DPS, as she actually does do as much or more damage than Jiyan if you run her as a main DPS, most people won't just because she's such a good synergy, but you can run her as a main DPS. And for that comp, I'm actually going to recommend, I can't believe I'm including this, support with the Yuan Wu and then the synergy being Tao Chi. And let me explain this comp because it's very non-meta, very unexpected for a lot of people, as these 2 characters on the side, Yuan Wu and Tao Chi, are kind of globally hated by most people as they don't really fit into many comps. Now, the reason for this is because Yuan Wu is actually electro and scales with it, and he does have 2 coordinated attacks that you can have. You can have the lightning infused state transfer to other characters, and he can also leave the electro static thunder totem on the ground, which does trigger electro damage as well. And he has good damage ultimate scaling with defense as well, which will help with the transition from Yinlin as your main DPS to your support. However, keep in mind, if you're going to run him in this position, you still want to have 5 out of 5 rejuvenating glow. And in order to trigger this, you need to be able to heal yourself or someone else. And we do that with the Originate Type 4 Gauntlet, which on basic attack will heal Yuan Wu and trigger that set bonus. Then the reason we want Tao Chi in this slot as well is because her outro skill grants the next character 38% resonance skill damage, and over half of Yinlin's damage is resonance skill. So you're actually using Tao Chi as a synergy for Yinlin. So if you want a super off meta but highly effective comp that you run with a main DPS Yinlin, this is what I'd recommend. And hopefully that covers everything you need to know about Yinlin, where she fits in the comps, what weapons to use, what stats to look for, and how to do her rotations and combinations to get the most out of her. I hope you enjoy her. She's a ton of fun, and I'll see you in the next one. If you found value in today's video, leave a like down below, leave a comment for the algorithm to help this video get seen by more people, and don't forget to check out my other channels for other content and other stuff and other things.